What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So today is indeed Wednesday, which means the new summit is now live here at Motorfest, and with that we will have Stand Out, basically fully focused on the BMW M3 if you want to get specific there, but we'll have the yellow vein tire, which is better looking than the previous week's tire. I admit that one looks kind of plain. This one looks a tad cooler. You'll then have the BMW M3 edition there, which I would say many players own it. We'll have spare parts and some money as well. Besides that, the next summit, though, I would probably say is going to be on the interesting side, as everyone will be like, yo, we got the M4 CSL here, which is a vehicle that's not in the game. So yeah, this summit is most likely going to be insane. But regardless, though, guys, this one fully focused on Street Tier 2, and again, the BMW M3 CS. Well, if you wanted to, you could technically run two different BMWs on these slaloms, guys, but I can tell you right now, you really don't need to. You can also just run the BMW M3 CS on this. Just run a half score breaker. That is basically it on this, guys. Also, quick thing as well. For the first time in a very long time, I will also have pro settings for my M3. They're not anything insane, but I was noticing a lot of help there when I was doing the 3 races down here. The other one is a speed trap for this, guys. I would recommend going around the objective. Running a chemisette here would be very helpful, but 242 is maxed out on this vehicle. I would say that will be fairly easy to do without jumping or trying to do air nitro, which I'm not going to mess with anyway. For the first event here on the top left, though, now keep in mind the top 3 events are vehicle owned, so nothing insane that you can do to the vehicle at all there because it's giving you a vehicle, but the other 3 you can have your own settings and part sets. Besides that, though, guys, I gotta admit, all 3 of these events are fairly straightforward. The first one here you will recognize basically to a T, as I would say every race here is kind of easily recognizable. This one you will have to kind of time it and make sure you do that because you will need the nitrous for this. And also, big tip here, you guys only have so many nitruses. All you have to do is use the nitrous on straightaways, and that is pretty much it. Do not use it when a corner is there, obviously. Don't use it before a corner, obviously. Just use it on a straightaway, and that is pretty much it on that one. To be honest, though, the other 2 events, you guys will definitely recognize both of these fairly quick on. I do know for a fact a lot of players will probably look at these and go, oh, yeah, we just did these. But you know what, though? The event on the top right here, you guys will easily recognize this one. Keep in mind, this one will have some cuts on it that will help tremendously on your time there. So try not to miss them. I would say people will probably recognize them from the other times. Speaking of cuts, though, also these 2 events here, Express Yourself and this car is your canvas. Both of these races will have a ton of cuts in them, guys. This one specifically has a great one that you can easily make a lot of time up, I would say is worth it. Also, Express Yourself, there is a few on this one you can easily miss, guys, and I would say this entire race is kind of full of them, so maybe they are a bit harder to miss there, so I would say players will end up being fine, and they will easily get a higher score on this by hitting them. Also, at the end of this event, though, you can easily mess up the shortcut, guys, and it will definitely help a lot. For me, I did end up messing up on one of my runs where I had to like go all the way around it. I'm like, no, there has to be an easier way. I think there's 2 different ways to do it, and I would recommend hitting that because it will tremendously help your time on there. For the final event here, though, you will end up once again recognizing this one, guys. It will end up being one of the final events, or at least one of the events anyway, in the newest playlist. So I would say a lot of players will be fairly familiar with this one. Overall, I would say this summit was fairly easy. I got this entire thing done in like 45 minutes, and honestly, that's definitely better when I can get it done a bit quicker. A few of the events, trying to find shortcuts and stuff like that, I had to do them a couple of times, guys, but overall it was fairly simple. And look at the bright side, you can also run the BMW M3 CS the entire time in this, so it's legit one car, and then that is pretty much it. Do not be afraid, guys, to try hard to get yourself a vein tire, am I right? But if you have any questions, do let me know in the comments below.